I've always loved to tinker on stuff, but like I remember whenever I was a kid, I used to go around and just make sure all the screws were tight on doorknobs and
Oh, wow.
just tinkering with stuff.
Mm,
I'm kind of a perfectionist in a
mm.
way. I want things to work like they're supposed to work.
You're the owner of Miami Fireplace and Stoves, right?
Yes. I remember after I bought the business and everything and my vacation ran up, um, I was like, I was laying there one night and I was like, if I don't work tomorrow, I don't get paid. Like,
Mm,
I don't get to call in anymore. I
mm,
don't get to have sick days.
mm.
It's up to me to be able to make this thing work.
This is a sponsored interview with Miami Fireplace and Stoves. Hello, my name is Franklin, and I'm with.
Ellis Stoner,
And now, this is a question I really want to ask you. How do you pronounce your business name?
it's Miami Fireplace and Stoves.
Okay, so some people, if they are coming from a Floridian perspective like me, uh, might think, okay, the way I pronounce it is Miami. That's how I would have pronounced it before I lived in Oklahoma for such a long time. But the way you pronounce your name again is how?
Miami.
Okay, so that's a way. If you want to know if someone is from around this area, they're going to say Miami, not Miami.
Correct.
All right, so that's what I wanted to ask you about, and also what got you into the fireplace business.
So I worked for our church at the
Okay.
time, and we had some people that ran the business, the fireplace business, and they asked me to come and be a service tech for them and learn all the things about fireplaces. So they sent me off to school to learn how to
Wow.
troubleshoot, how to install, how to do everything with pellet stove, wood, gas, everything.
So at your church, they had a fireplace business, or was it members in your church that had a fireplace business?
Yeah, members in our
Okay.
church. Yes.
Wow. So there's a fireplace school.
Yeah, it's actually where they make these stoves and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You actually go there and you get to do a bunch of hands-on training and stuff, how they're made, how they work, the components, all the ins and outs, how they vent properly and everything.
So about how long is that training and all of that to do that?
Um, you can it's usually you go up there for a couple weeks
Uh-huh.
at a time per um, like a gas fireplace. I went up there for a couple weeks and then wood for a couple weeks, pellet for a couple weeks, and then you take all of your testing and everything to be able to get certified to be able to uh, do all the service work and install them and everything like that.
Okay. All right. So you can't just install fireplaces without having the certification to do that.
Yeah, you really need to be certified to be able to put fire in somebody's home to be able to for it to be covered under insurance for sure.
Okay. Okay. So, and I know that we'll probably get to this, but I'm assuming your techs are probably certified as well.
Correct.
Okay. And then that actually is important. I didn't even think about the insurance part, but that probably is important, especially if there's a fire that actually happens.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We've been called out to multiple homes where the customer installed it themselves,
Mm.
and the insurance company wanted us to go out there and inspect it and verify that it was done correctly. And so we go out there and inspect it and make sure if it's done correctly. If not, we report it to the insurance company,
Oh, wow.
and then we usually have to come in and install it correctly.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it's they have to pay for the install kind of twice when they do that.
Yeah. So,
So
okay. So it pays to know some people, or I mean, a company that actually has um, the proper training to be able to work with something like fireplaces, which is very very serious if it's not
yeah,
installed properly.
yeah,
So you just said, all right, I'm going to do the fireplace and stoves. I'm just going to get into that because you knew the people at church that were doing that, and you just wanted to do that.
yeah. I've always been hands on. I
Okay.
love working with my hands. I love how does this work? How does that work? And my biggest thing is like if somebody makes a product and it doesn't work like it says it's supposed to work,
Hmm.
I'm like trying to perfect it to where it works the way that I think it should work,
Hmm.
a little bit better maybe. And so I've always been Um, I've always loved to tinker on stuff, but like really fix stuff and you know, I remember whenever I was a kid, I used to go around and just make sure everything, all the screws were tight on doorknobs and
Oh wow.
just tinkering with stuff. But
Mm,
I've always wanted things to be. I'm kind of a perfectionist in a
mm.
way. I want things to work like they're supposed to work.
So what are the okay, besides the doorknobs and all that, what are the things that you like to tinker with outside of fireplace and stoves, or what have you done in the past
Oh,
with that?
I've been a garage door tech for a company. We service all the Lowe's and like all the commercial accounts for garage doors, all their
Okay.
shipping, receiving doors, and dock loaders and stuff like that. So I there's a lot of mechanical stuff that goes into garage doors as well,
Mm.
and so I've always kind of just my mind always tries to work on trying to figure out how to make things work and make it work better.
So did you have to go and do training for that as well, or did you just is it just on the job training
That
and
one was more on the job
okay.
training, So
And but you're not afraid of doing new things because you're doing the garage door business and then this is a different sector in fireplace and stoves, but you're doing that.
yeah, yeah,
And then eventually and you're the owner of Miami Fireplace and Stoves, right?
yes.
So how did you go in that progression because now you were helping people and then now you became the owner and that's like a different level as well in terms of going and doing jobs because you could just do like a 9 to 5 but now you're taking on an ownership position and how did you transition into that and have you been a business owner before as well?
Okay. Yeah, I worked for that company. It was called Quality Fireplace at that time, and the owners, man, I wouldn't be. It's like God put people in the right spot at the right
Mm,
time. And um, their Daryl and Kathy Wyrick was their name, and every time I see them, I go to church with them, and
mm.
I tell them, man, like I wouldn't be where I am without them.
So they
You
had a
know.
lot of mentorship for you.
Yes, yeah, they've just been some of the people I look up to the most, in life, and um, but they are the ones that started the business, and I worked for them.
Mm,
And then in 2019, they were going to retire,
mm,
and so I was their service guy and install guy and everything. And so I was at home, and I was talking to my wife about it. They're gonna sell out or just go out of business.
mm.
And so I was like, man, I got to find something else to kind of do. And my wife, because I've owned my own landscaping business and
Okay.
stuff before,
Wow.
and I've always kind of just been like I'd see things that need to be done,
Mm,
and like I can do that, just kind of a service.
mm,
I've always just been in that service related stuff, and so I seen where they um, just my wife, she started talking to me, and she was like, "Man, Ellis, you know everything about that business. Why don't you buy it?"
mm,
And I was like, "Well, I've never really ran a business that scale,
mm.
of being responsible for putting fire in somebody's home,
Yeah, that's a big responsibility.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so she was like, "You know how to do it all. You've got everything you need." And so, um, we prayed about it and stuff, and I finally approached them about it, and we ended up buying the business from them and moved it to Main Street in Miami
Okay.
for 2 years, and then we ended up uh, building our shop out here on Highway 10, um, and we've been here since 2021, I believe.
2021. That's
Yeah,
excellent.
yeah.
So it's nice to have. Now I'm talking from theory. Okay, I'm not married, but I think it's probably nice to have. It's not probably. It's nice to have a wife that's encouraging you,
Yeah.
and so I'm glad that you have that. Um, I mean, not have that. You have her for helping you in that business guidance. But I'm sure she's more than just helping you with
Oh,
business.
yeah. Man, she's a lot to me. It's one of those things that like I didn't think of it, and she sees things in me that I don't see.
Mm,
And so she was like, "You can do it. I've seen you do the work. You know what you're doing. And I had doubts, but
mm,
she was the one that was like, "What are you so afraid of?" And I'm like, And it was fine because at my other job, I had like 2 weeks paid vacation till
Mhm.
it was going to shut down, you know? And so I was like, man, and I remember after I bought the business and everything and my vacation ran up, um, I was like, I was laying there one night and I was like, if I don't work tomorrow, I don't get paid. Like,
Mhm.
I don't get to call in anymore. I don't
Mhm.
get to have sick days. You know,
Mhm.
it's up to me to be able to make this thing work.
Well, that's good. That you let your wife encourage you and help you see past fear, because I think that's something that stops a lot of people from actually having businesses. And I think they can have inspiration from your story, because we're all going to face fear, but we can let fear stop us from doing something that maybe God wants us to do, or we are we I know someone would say that this is someone I look at on sometimes. He says, punch fear in the face and press record. It's like, not necessarily, you don't have to necessarily punch fear, but I mean, look past fear and
Yeah,
see the opportunities, which I think is important.
yeah.
So, what is one of your favorite business sayings, or business quotes, or something like that?
I think the thing that sticks with me the most on that is no matter what we're doing, like whenever I used to own landscaping
Mm-hmm.
business or we'd walk into our church or something on the parking lot and there'd be trash blowing through, and I'm always like, let's leave it better than we found it.
Mm.
If we
Okay.
can just pick up a piece of trash and make it look better,
Mm.
and so I guess my thing is always let's leave it better than we found it. I'm always and let's leave the homeowners better than we found them too. So
Mm.
if they have a problem, we're going to help them find a solution to fix that problem and make it better for them. So I'm always, yeah, leave it better than we found it.
That's a good saying.
No,
And that's important. I would assume that people are paying attention to how things look, especially if they want to have a fireplace.
yeah,
So that's going to be important.
yes,
But I think also giving value, being focused on that, is important as well. And I like to think about giving value, and I know there's even a Bible text, or a it's more blessed to give than to receive. I believe there's a Bible text. But anyway, like,
yeah,
there's a text that talks about the liberal soul shall be made fat, and he that watereth shall be watered also himself. Talking about it's good to give, and then that giving is going to come back to you anyway.
yes,
Um, so you have a value first philosophy that I'm sure has impacted your business, and I'm assuming that people are very appreciative of your business, because I think sometimes it's hard to find quality workers, and so when you have that attention to detail and focus on quality, then that can really be helpful.
yes, yeah.
All right, and so now you said Miami, and but I think it's important to talk about where do what areas does your business serve? Is it just Miami, or do you go other places as well?
So we typically stay within an hour of where we're at.
Okay.
So we go as far as down to Tahlequah sometimes. We go to Joplin, Neosho. We
Oh, wow.
go to up in Kansas, and to Tulsa sometimes, So
Wow.
we're about an hour radius around.
What about Grove? Do you go to Grove as
We
well?
go to Grove
Okay.
about, I'd say we probably go to Grove 3 to 4 days a week.
Okay.
So
What about Wyandotte?
Wyandotte, yes, we go to Wyandotte.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So that's good to know. I know a lot of people are. I've met and I've interacted with a lot of people in Grove, so I'm sure that people will really like that.
Yes.
And then what is your differentiation? What makes your business different? Okay, because people can go and get fireplaces and stoves at other places,
Yes.
but what makes your business different?
So I feel like our business is different because I'm not going to say that they don't care,
Hmm.
their customer service don't care,
Hmm.
but I mean, we want people to know that we care about them. We're just not trying to sell them something.
Hmm.
We're trying to get a solution for their problem,
Hmm.
and we just want our customer service is like that's the number one thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how many times I've heard it around the area, uh, specifically in Grove area, where I've showed up at people's houses and they're like, "Wow, you really did come," And I'm like, "What do you like? What do you mean I really came? Like I told you I'd be here." And they're like, "Well, we've called 3 electricians, 2 plumbers, and they said they'd be here and they didn't show up."
Mm.
And they're like, and it's crazy because they'll like sometimes they'll give me like a tip, and I'm like, "What's this for?" And they're like, "Well, you showed up," And I'm like,
Wow.
and so
Wow.
my son, my son Tyler, he's 19
Mm.
and he works for us, and I'm always telling him, I'm like, "Man, anybody can run a business if you just do what you say you're going to do and be there when you say you're going to be there."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't know how people stay in business without doing those two
Mm-hmm.
things. And so I'm like, those are, um, so I'd say customer service. And whenever somebody buys something from us, I always tell them that they're buying us with the stoves, because they can call us anytime and we'll help them. Whatever they need. If they have a question about it that they can't find in their manual or something, that we didn't, that maybe they didn't know about, um, we always help out. We've got an awesome office manager. Her name's Nisa, and she is she helps people out all the time on that. They'll call, and even if they don't buy something from us, she's always trying to help troubleshoot stuff, just to be able to help people stay warm.
Yeah,
So
that's a big deal,
yeah,
especially in the wintertime
yeah,
when it can get really cold and people I think sometimes can worry about, okay, well, what if the electricity goes out or something like that? But I think when we were talking before this interview too, you were saying sometimes people have maybe bought a stove or something like that, but then they are not sure how to install it, or they might need to know even where all the pieces are or something like that. So there's a lot more involved, and there's a lot more things involved than just purchasing something and just bringing it to your house.
yes, yes. I always kid around with people a little bit because some people will call and want it installed like in 2 days,
Mm,
and sometimes in the summertime that we can maybe pull that string and make it
mm,
happen. But when it's cold out and it's just install after install, I tell them it's not like ordering a pizza. We can't. It takes some planning. It
mm,
takes some preparation. We have to order the parts. We have to make sure it's all ready to go before we show up at your house. We
mm.
don't want to show up at somebody's house with the wrong stuff, and then it delays the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, but the people that buy stoves from somewhere else and stuff, um, we are usually glad to help them
Mm,
install it. But the problem we run into is some of them will have all the pipe and the stove already,
mm,
but then whenever we get there to install it, they're missing a couple pieces, and then we have to come back and try to help them find those couple pieces, and then go back and install it. So it kind of cost them a little bit more because
mm,
of the delay was on their part, kind of.
mm,
And then if the stove malfunctions somehow or something happens, they call us wanting us to fix it. Well, it takes us. We don't have parts for that kind of stuff. We only have parts for the stoves that we sell here,
mm,
and so we don't really have the parts for everything out there. And so we have to go there, troubleshoot it, come back here, order the parts, and then go back a second time. And so it costs a little bit more because we can't stock everything that
mm.
people have.
And then when you're even thinking about the stoves that you want to sell, you're focused on having quality products. You don't want to necessarily sell every single stove out there. So coming here, there's a vetting process of stoves. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. We have multiple, um, I'd say, sales reps that come in and try to get us to buy or to start selling a certain brand, but I kind of know the brands that people have callbacks on and stuff, a lot of, little problems with and stuff. And I don't want to sell that kind of product to
Mm,
people. And so I stick with the brands that we have because I know their reliability,
Mm.
and I know that they do what they say they're going to do. They function like they're supposed to. So I try to stick with the. I don't want to sell a product that I don't believe in myself.
Okay, that's good.
So I've had multiple ones of these stoves in different houses that I've owned,
Mm.
and so I know they work like they're supposed to.
So you're using the products that you're selling.
Correct.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's excellent. All right, and so now I am from Florida actually, even though I've spent around 8.5 years in Oklahoma. I've been other places, Virginia, and even all the way up in Maine for a little bit. But I grew up without a fireplace really. So um, we just turned the heat on when it was cold, and cold obviously in Florida is different than Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But why should someone get a fireplace or a stove when they can just turn on the electric heat? Like, what what's the difference between the two?
Yeah. I mean, your electric heat, I feel like has a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
but when it gets when it gets really cold, a lot of people have heat pumps,
Mm-hmm.
and the heat pump, when it gets down to about 32 degrees, doesn't heat, it doesn't put out warm air.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times people have to turn their emergency strips on, their heating strips,
Mm-hmm.
and it costs a lot of money. And it's a warmer heat, but the good thing about a fireplace or a pellet stove or any wood stove is you can put them in the room that you're going to be in
Mm-hmm.
about 90% of the time. Like mainly people put them in their living rooms,
Mm-hmm.
and you can go over to your thermostat and you can turn your thermostat to um, off, but
Mm-hmm.
turn your fan to on, and
Oh wow,
that will help
interesting.
circulate the air throughout the different rooms. But it keeps you really comfortable in the room that you're going to be in 90% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it also will suck some of that air through the house and distribute it into the rooms.
So that's a hack.
So yeah, we've got people that are like one of their bedrooms is way back in the back and they can't get the air back there.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell them about that, and it's not going to be as warm, but it's something going back there, And
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of designed for like zone heating,
Mm-hmm.
but it really helps for people that are like on all electric
Mm-hmm.
or people on propane because propane prices are really volatile. They kind of
Mm-hmm.
go up and down, and kind of pellets and natural gas kind of stay pretty even. So
Okay.
yeah,
All right. Well, I want to again thank you for that hack because I think some people are going to use that
yeah,
and probably will save a lot of money by just turning the fan on and then having the stove as well
yeah,
on it. And so now talking about different things too. Okay, some people do have fireplaces or they're considering to get a fireplace or a stove. But what's the difference between fireplaces, pellet stoves, gas stoves, and wood stoves? And I believe you sell all of those. Is that correct?
yes.
So what are like, yeah, what are the differences or with those?
So, I mean, your gas stove, obviously, it runs off of gas.
Mm-hmm.
We have them that run off of natural gas or propane.
Mm-hmm.
They're uh, the ease of operation.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of hit a button. It has electronic ignition. It lights it for you, and then after so many minutes, after it heats up, it has blowers that automatically kick on to blow the heat out in the room. And then your pellet, you got to buy a 40-pound bag of pellet, and you can just pour them in. And then your pellet stove has a thermostat that you can turn it off and on with, or you can set a temperature that it kicks on and off for you.
Wow.
But it will feed the pellets, and then it lights the pellets, and then once it heats up to 120 degrees, it will start blowing the hot air, but it's a constant like 450-degree heat.
Oh wow.
And but the good thing about the pellet is it gives you that good warm wood heat,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't have the creosote and the mess that like a wood stove would have with it. And the wood stove, I mean, I've had wood fireplaces and all that stuff, and I love the feel and the look of a wood fire, but it's kind of messy,
Mm-hmm.
and um, stacking the wood on the porch and like bugs and mice and
Mm-hmm.
stuff try to make nest in it, and you bring that stuff in your house, and so um, there's a place for wood stoves,
Mhm.
but it's just the pellet stove is a little bit more. Um, I guess it's just more user friendly, to be able to and then with a wood stove, if it gets too hot in there, you you can turn the air down, the air settings
Mhm.
on them and stuff, but you can open a window, but you have to let that wood stay on fire. There's no way to put it out.
Mhm.
Where with a pellet stove, you can turn the thermostat down and it just quits
Okay.
feeding pellets,
Huh.
and then your fire will die out. And um, so a lot of people that have pellet stoves will run them even into like the springtime,
Oh wow.
to where in the morning time, whenever it's still just to knock the chill off,
Mhm.
they'll start their pellet stove and just enough to knock the chill off and then turn it off. Where a wood stove, you'd have to start your wood stove,
Mhm.
get it going, and then by the time it gets going, it's hot in there and
Mhm.
there's no way to shut it down. You
Gotcha.
just kind of got to open windows and let the fire die out eventually.
Now we're right by. This is what is this right here?
This is a heat and glow. It's a gas built-in
Okay.
fireplace.
Okay. So this is okay. So and what? Okay. Now what's the difference between a fireplace and a stove?
So a stove is going to be more of a freestanding unit. It could be a gas stove, pellet stove, wood stove.
Mhm.
It's just going to be more of like on legs, like a pedestal,
Okay.
that you can just sit out.
Mhm.
Um, so this is a built-in fireplace because we had to frame it all out, install it, and then install all the venting, and then cover it up, and then rock it all. And so that's kind of the difference in those.
It feels good.
Yeah,
I mean, it's nice to be doing the interview
yeah,
right by the heat as well.
yeah,
So,
because it's 20 degrees outside right now. So
yeah. So this is a perfect place to do an interview, especially for someone from Florida,
yeah.
originally. So I'm happy about that. Okay. And what is one thing that you wish people knew about gas, wood, or pellet stoves that you think they might not know?
Um, hmm, I mean, I'd say probably um, there's people that come in here dead set on one thing or another,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't really know there's different options, And so we get people in here that are maybe in their, they grew up with wood stoves their
Mm-hmm.
whole life, and so they are 70 years old and
Oh, okay.
want to have a wood stove,
Mm-hmm.
and I introduce them to a pellet stove.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit easier. You don't have to carry in logs. You don't have to light it. You don't have to kind of babysit it,
Mm-hmm.
like a wood stove. So um, that's some of the options that I give them for that. It's a lot less work, on their part.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but then if they do have natural gas or propane, then I lead them to natural gas or propane. Um, but if you do have natural gas would be the best way to go
Mm-hmm.
because you don't have to cut anything down, you don't have to haul anything. You just have to pay your gas bill,
Mm-hmm.
and you got your gas, to your fireplace or your stove. Um, so yeah,
And we were talking a little bit, and you were saying that some people will, and you sell electric fireplaces too, and some people will use solar panels to be able to turn on their electric fireplace.
yeah. We have some people that are um, wanting the fireplace look
Uh-huh.
and get a little bit of the heat from it and stuff, but they don't want to spend money on a fireplace, to the venting and everything that goes with it,
Mm,
and so they'll get an electric fireplace. And we have some that are pretty realistic looking, for electric,
mm,
and they'll run those off of their solar panels, and it's pretty much like free heat for
yeah.
their areas, that they're trying to stay warm in.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool that they're thinking about using solar,
Yeah,
and I'm assuming that you probably have some people that maybe are going off the grid a little bit, especially if they're getting wood stoves and all of that, and coming in here and trying to think about how can they do things like that. Is that
yeah,
correct?
yeah, yeah. A lot of people with like tiny homes, or and a lot of people with like maybe they're flipping a house and doing
Mm.
like Airbnb. It's
Mm.
got an older fireplace or something in it, you know. Um, you don't really. A lot of people don't want a renter
Yeah.
or somebody like that to be able to start a real fire in their house,
Mm.
and so they will buy an electric insert or electric fireplace and put in place of it
Mm.
because it looks nice, but the renters or whoever doesn't have to have the liability of something happening to that
Yeah.
house, you know, if they don't know how to operate the fireplace or whatever correctly.
Now, I do want to ask you some questions about inserts, and we'll probably go more into that. But you said you can have electric fireplace and electric insert. So what? First of all, what is an insert, and then how would that work for like electric fireplace?
So so an electric insert. Well, I'll tell you, an insert is if you have an existing fireplace
Mm-hmm.
that has a like a brick and mortar chimney.
Mm.
Um, an insert goes into that. It's inserted into that existing firebox,
Mm.
and then we run venting up through the existing chimney, and so that's pretty much what an insert is. Just kind of takes the place of your firebox that you have there. But we have some people that, um, you know, it depends what they're wanting to do with it. If they just want something kind of pretty to look at,
Mm.
puts out a little bit of heat, we've got electric inserts that we can put the insert back in there, and then it's got a nice trim piece that goes around it, you know, to
Mm.
finish it off to make it look nice in there.
Okay. And that actually is going to help increase the insert helps increase the heat. Is that correct?
So the electric insert is just going to be more for just the ambiance.
Okay.
But if you went to like a wood, a gas, or a pellet
Mm.
insert, those are made. They're made to contain the heat and push the heat back into the room. So they
Okay.
are made to actually heat the area you're trying to heat. Because like an open fireplace,
Mm.
just an open wood burning fireplace, about 85% of your heat just goes right out your chimney.
Oh.
So these inserts that we put in are usually anywhere from 65% to 85% on the efficiency level. And so you're getting more of that back than, you know, 85% of your wood heat is going right out the chimney. So you're getting all that back into the room, and only, you know, 20 to 30% of it's going out the chimney now whenever you put an insert in there.
Okay. So if you have a fireplace, then you need to have an insert, basically.
If you want the open look of a
Mm.
fireplace, then yeah, I mean you can. There's options where we can do things to make you have an open fireplace. But
Mm.
if you're wanting the heat from a fireplace and you're wanting to really utilize that as a heat source,
Mm.
then an insert is the way to go for sure.
Okay. All right. And what is one fireplace, wood stove, and pellet stove that you or your customers really like?
Um, Man, I'd say on our pellet stoves, um, there's one that we've been selling a lot of because right now they're actually doing a if you buy any wood burning appliance, um, or I believe it's a gas also, but if you buy anything that's 75% or more efficient,
Mm.
there's a 30% tax credit towards it.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And so we've got quite a few pellet stoves and wood stoves that meet that 75% efficiency rating.
Mm.
And so they can get up to $2,000 back on a tax credit for that.
Wow.
And so right now we've been selling a lot of the Harmon,
Mm.
the Absolute 63s. It puts out about 63,000 BTU, so it's enough to heat. I think it's rated at like 3,000 square feet.
Okay.
Um, and then on our wood stoves and stuff, we've been selling a lot of Blaze King wood stoves,
Mm.
and they've got they're actually the number one best selling wood stove in Alaska.
Oh, that's good to know.
And so
Wow.
they have some that it's called an Ashford 20, then they've got an Ashford 30, and the 20 and 30 stands for the burn time that they have.
Mm.
So they'll burn for 20 to 30 hours.
Wow.
And so you'll reduce your wood consumption by up to 33%. So fewer trips to the wood pile, and
Mm.
less wood. So and they put out a lot of heat, and they look like they've got some that are really got detailed,
Mm.
stuff done to their cast iron, and so they're really nice. They look like almost a showpiece whenever they're not being used,
Wow.
so they're nice.
Now that means 20 to 30 hours. That means you're not having to. You can go to bed, and you don't have to be worrying about putting the wood back into the stove. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So
Correct.
and is that the case with your other? Okay. And I think did you tell me about the pellet stove too? What was the pellet stove that you really like?
Yeah, the Harmon. It's a
Okay, it's a
Harmon
Harmon. Okay.
Absolute.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you told me about the Harmon, then the wood stove, and then what? This other one. And then the fireplace. Did you tell me about the fireplace?
So a fireplace, it all depends what people want because we have wood burning fireplaces,
Mm,
um, and then we also have gas fireplaces.
mm,
So on the wood burning fireplaces, we have some that are just going to be for the ambiance,
mm,
but we've got some that are really made for heating
mm,
that have actual fire brick in them that have doors and
mm,
blowers and stuff on them. So probably my favorite one is going to be like we've got a Quadrifire brand and it's
mm,
the Pioneer like 2 or 3. It's a big double doored unit, that you
mm.
can put like 22-inch logs in it,
Oh wow.
and it gives you that like 10 to 12 hour burn time, and
Okay.
puts out really good heat.
So that means, are you telling me that either with your fireplace or the different stoves you have, depending on which one you get, you can actually just have it set potentially and go to bed and not have to worry about it? Is that correct?
Yeah, so I mean either wood or pellet or your gas. I mean you can light them and go to bed. Especially your pellet stoves. Your pellet
Mm,
stove, it's an all sealed burn, so um, it's an all sealed burn, and it doesn't have to like your wood stoves have to draw. So they have a chimney pipe that goes
mm,
to them, and it has to be a certain height for it to draw right,
mm,
for the smoke and all the heat and gases to escape out of there. Where your pellet stove has a blower on it that blows the exhaust out of it for you, and so
mm,
it's an all sealed burn. So we've had people that have had wood stoves that have had like COPD or
mm.
asthma or allergies to
Oh,
wood and stuff, and they'll come in and buy a pellet stove because it's an all sealed burn, and you don't get that smoke smell like
oh,
in the house
interesting.
and stuff, and so but you still get that good warm wood heat out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so they and then on the gas stuff, I mean the gas stuff is just the ease of operation on it is really
Mm.
the main thing for the gas is that.
Okay. All right, that's interesting. And now you don't just sell the fireplaces and all that. We kind of alluded to that, but what are the other services that you do in terms of like installation and things like that? You do installation, and then you're doing service calls as well too for the fireplaces and stoves. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
yeah. So we have our showroom here, and they come in. We sell the product,
Mm-hmm.
and then we install it, and then we service whatever we sell here. We service whenever people call. We've got a real person that answers the phone, and does a great job at it, and we just try to help out however we can, But the services that we offer, it's kind of crazy because whenever I first bought the business from the Wyricks when they owned it,
Mm-hmm.
they they just did pretty much the stoves. They sold the stoves, they installed them, and then we serviced them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, whenever I started doing it, I started getting phone calls for um, chimney sweeps and chimney inspections.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, I don't do that, So I just started telling people no, that we didn't do that. And then it started like, well, I started getting probably, like 100 calls a year.
Wow.
Hey, do you guys do chimney sweeps, chimney inspections? And I was like, not yet, but we will, And so I actually went to, in Indiana, they have
Mm-hmm.
it's called CSIA. It's chimney sweep um, it's a chimney sweep school,
Okay.
and um, so I went up there, and you've got to get to chimney sweep school, and you've got to get certified, and they teach you what to look for
Mm.
in like deficiencies in fireplaces and stuff, and places to look to make sure that the gas or wood or anything like that's venting
Mm.
properly, so it's not going to be a hazard to the customers. Make sure their stuff is gonna operate correctly.
Well, I remember hearing someone say lifelong leaders are lifelong learners. And so it seems like you are just not only content to be at one level, but you like to continually expand and continually learn. And then that actually impacts your business and gives you more ability to serve people better. So I think that's really cool as well.
Yeah, and we also so I went to chimney sweep school
Hmm.
and got certified, and it was funny because I seen people in hotels and stuff while I was there, and they were like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm actually here for a chimney sweep school," and they're like, "There's actually a chimney sweep school?" And I was like, "Man, that sounds funny," but I mean, it's important to
Hmm.
go to those schools and those educations and stuff because um, before we would just go and shine a flashlight in somebody's chimney, and yeah, it looks fine, it looks good,
Hmm.
but we didn't know what we were looking at.
Hmm.
And so after you go to chimney sweep school and stuff, they kind of show you how one's built, how it's supposed to be built correctly, and how they're supposed to function.
Hmm.
And so kind of the in and outs of chimneys, basically. Um, but then I got back here and we took off doing chimney sweeps and inspections.
Hmm.
And then not too long later, people were calling, "Do you guys do dryer vent cleanings?" And I was like, "No, we don't." And then we started getting about 100 calls a year, and people called and said, "Hey, do you do dryer vent cleanings?" And I was like, "Not yet, but we will." And so um, I took some classes and stuff
Oh, wow.
for that. And so we bought all the everything we needed to be able to do that. And so we kind of expanded to do dryer vent cleanings, and because um, the dryer vents actually cause more house fires than
Mm.
chimneys do a year.
Oh, wow.
Because you think about people, how often do they use their fireplaces?
Mm.
Usually 5 6 months out of the year for hours at a time,
Hmm.
where your dryers are used year round. Sometimes, I know for my family, sometimes daily. And those things, it depends how they're vented out, but they can get plugged up with all the lint and all
Oh.
the stuff. And we've been to places where they've had squirrels make nests in them,
Oh,
where
wow.
we found snake skins in them. We
Mm.
found acorns. We found all kinds of stuff. But that stuff um, can catch on fire inside your dryer vents, and so it's actually pretty important to get your dryer vents cleaned. They recommend annually. So we usually do a service where if somebody uses us for a chimney sweep and a dryer vent cleaning, we'll just schedule it forward for a year,
Mm.
and we'll just plan on doing their dryer vent the same time we do their chimney inspection and sweep um, at the same time. So it's a little bit cheaper that way on them
Mm.
because we don't have to make two trips, and so we have like a special that we do with that.
Okay, that's good. And so what happens? I mean, I think I'm assuming some of this is obvious, but I'm very green. I don't
Yeah,
have a fireplace or anything, so I'm just
yeah.
asking questions. But what happens if people don't get their chimney inspected on a regular basis?
So I mean, a couple things can really happen. I mean, the main thing, like a lot of people focus on, and me included, whenever before I knew, you know,
Mm.
um, a lot of people focus on getting their chimney swept,
Mm.
and there are guys out there that will just come and push a broom down your chimney and say, "See you next year." Looks
Yeah.
fine to me. But there's a book. It's a standard book that it's a code book that everybody's supposed to go off of. It's called the NFPA 211, and it talks in there about getting your chimney inspected annually and swept if necessary.
Hmm.
So if people are burning good seasoned wood,
Hmm.
and it usually takes about a year, depends what species of wood, but most of the hardwoods around here take about a year to season.
Hmm.
And we've been to places where we've actually got a moisture meter that we can check the moisture level of the wood.
Hmm.
And we've been to people's houses and their stoves are all plugged up, and we will ask to see their wood pile, their wood, and we get the moisture meter and check the moisture level in it. And the moisture level, you want it to be about 15 to 20% moisture.
Okay.
That'll burn the most efficient.
Hmm.
And whenever it is wet like that and not seasoned, a lot of your creosote is kind of like tar,
Hmm.
and whenever it's not dried out of there, it goes into your chimney pipes and clogs them up and
Okay.
becomes flammable up in your chimney pipes. And so we've had people that their moisture level was too high, and so they have. I asked them if it's seasoned wood, and they said yeah. They either bought it from a guy that said it was seasoned, or they cut it down themselves.
Hmm.
And but the thing that I didn't know about either was that you can cut a tree down, but if you don't split the wood up,
Hmm.
it and leave the bark around it all and
Hmm.
gonna cut it up and split it later, that tree just starts decaying inside of that bark.
Oh
It
wow.
don't start drying out until you split the bark off of it.
Hmm.
And so I know we've got some guys that have said that they cut their trees down and just let them lay in a field until wintertime and go out there and cut them and then split them. And that wood's not really seasoned. It's pretty much just decaying. So it's really not seasoned until it gets the bark split off of it.
All right. So
Um,
you're giving us more hacks.
oh man, yeah, it's just things that I've learned, in the industry. But so the thing that's really important about your chimney inspections is I back in the 70s and 80s, I think that they had different building codes and different ways to do things, and I don't know how many um, houses were really inspected like by um, like a city inspector or anything like that.
Hmm.
And so some guys came in and built fireplaces and kind of built them the way that they thought it was good to do. Well, since then they've kind of changed some things because people's houses were burning down,
Hmm.
and they were trying to figure out how to avoid that. And so they changed different things, like your wood and everything's not there's not allowed any wood to be touching in the attic area, as your chimney goes through your attic and out your roof.
Hmm.
The wood can't touch that stuff. And then there's some other things that have changed, and it's really to help the homeowner,
Hmm.
because they figured out where spots were that was getting too hot and causing problems, and so they changed it to get combustibles away from it. Um, so the main thing you have a lot of people think that their chimney is just one solid structure,
Hmm.
but it's really a solid structure. And then you've actually got some of them on your masonry chimneys and
Hmm.
your masonry fireplaces. You have clay tiles that run through that chimney,
Hmm.
and that's what's supposed to get the byproduct of your wood or your gas, whatever you're burning in there.
Hmm.
It's supposed to get that out as quickly as possible and get it out into the outside air.
Hmm.
And so what happens is sometimes people will, it's not always people's fault,
Hmm.
but it's a lot of just lack of maintenance on people's part, of kind of just letting it go for
Yeah.
a few years and not getting it looked at. But a lot of people will come in and like start a fire, and they want to have this big roaring fire at first. But whenever you um, whenever you introduce heat to that fireplace so fast, that heat travels up to those clay tiles, and they call it thermal shock. And so those clay tiles are going from cold to hot
Mm-hmm.
fast, and those clay tiles will break.
Ooh.
And so whenever those clay tiles break, they have cracks in them, and those cracks, when they get hot, they can expand and contract. As they get cold, they contract. When
Mm.
they get hot, they expand. Well, when they expand, that creosote, gas, carbon monoxide, all that stuff can travel through those cracks into their chimney cavity and like into their attic area, and that's where a lot of house fires come is from
Mm.
cracks. And then they also put clay tiles in there. They're usually 2 foot
Mm.
tall. Um, they've got mortar joints where they mortar them and
Mm.
then they put the next one on there, and that's what seals them together. Well, sometimes over the years, like rain and water is like the biggest. It's got acid whenever
Mm.
it mixes with that, and it runs down, and it will start over the years. It'll start chewing that mortar joints out
Mm.
of there, and so we've been to some where the mortar joints are missing. Like you can see into the actual chimney part,
Mm.
not just the clay flue tiles that you have going through there. And so smoke and all your creosote and all your byproducts that are supposed to be traveling like out through a straw, out through the top,
Mm.
are going back into the chimney area and into attic spaces and places where it's not supposed to go.
Mm.
And so that's what we look for when we come do an inspection, and we make sure um, it's like going to a mechanic that has looks at cars. You're going there for your brakes, but he looks at your engine and says, "Yeah, everything's good." Um, we look at the chimney as a whole.
Mm.
We from the firebox, from the damper area to your smoke shelf to your chimney area to the top of your chimney. It all has to work to function properly and for the as safe as we can.
Okay.
Um, so
That makes a that's a big deal because I think people want to live, and
yes, yes,
and
and we want them to live.
yeah, and I mean, and I know I'm laughing a little bit just for fun, but I mean it's not a joking matter, especially because I know people have had their houses caught on fire, like we've been talking
Yes.
about. Um, Man, I have so many questions. I want to ask you some more, if you're okay with me asking
Yeah,
some more
yeah, that's the
questions.
way.
Okay, so and then I'm going to get into other people's questions that they ask on Facebook and all this, but maybe just one or two more questions from myself at least. But how long do your stoves last?
Um, Typically, if you maintain them correctly, it's all about your maintenance. It's kind of like a car. If
Mm.
you don't maintain it, I mean, it's not going to last as long as you think it should. And so, our stoves typically last anywhere from 15 to 25 years.
Okay, excellent.
And so I've seen some out there that are 30 years old that people still have. So it's all about maintenance and just the upkeep on it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, and I guess this is a hack that I think people might want to know how to do as well. How do you start a fire in a wood stove fast? Do you have any hacks on that?
Well, fast. It's one of those things. So the way that your chimney works is the hot air rises.
Hmm.
So you have to heat that chimney um, for it to build up negative pressure to start sucking the smoke out, or
Hmm.
drawing, as we say. So you really, the way that you want to do it is kind of start with a small fire
Hmm.
and get that smoke and everything going out like it's supposed to,
Hmm.
and then you can add bigger sticks, bigger logs and stuff to it.
Okay.
But the way that I like to do it is I think it's called like a Scandinavian um, burn pile,
Okay.
but you actually put all of your big logs on the bottom,
Hmm.
and then you cross with smaller logs on the top, and then you keep doing that with smaller stuff as it goes up,
Hmm.
and then you put your kindling and stuff on the top, And I was always taught to put your, make like a little A-frame with
Yeah.
wood and put your kindling underneath it and
Hmm.
let that kindling catch on fire. And then, but that Scandinavian way is you build it with your big stuff on bottom, small stuff kindling on top, start that kindling, and when that kindling catches on fire, it drops down to the next one, catches it on
Oh,
fire,
interesting.
drops that down. So it's kind of good because you start out with a small fire
Hmm.
at the top and get all that smoke flowing in the right direction, and then it'll go to the bigger pieces and then the big pieces, and
Hmm.
that's when your fire really starts building up. So it's kind of good to have the smoke going out first instead of just having a big roaring fire.
Hmm. All
So
right, that's interesting. I'm gonna have to see a video on that, but I had
yeah,
never even heard of that process before, so I'm glad you told us about that. And man, I have a lot of questions, but uh, do you have any stoves where you can cook on them?
yeah, we do. I mean, most of our wood stoves,
Uh-huh.
I your wood stove is really the only one that you could really probably cook on.
Okay.
Um, So we have a couple models, but most of them, anything cast iron or steel,
Mm-hmm.
it gets 5, 6, 700 degrees on the top.
Mm-hmm.
So you could put, a lot of people put, the humidity gets kind of dry when you
Mm-hmm.
burn wood and stuff. They'll take like a water pan and stuff and put it on top of there and boil water to
Okay.
put some water in the air to keep the humidity up.
Mm-hmm.
But you can cook on them. We have some um, that we have one that you can flip the top up on it, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
top load where you can load it from the front or you can load it from the top, but it actually has a cast iron piece that's on it
Mm-hmm.
that has a little trough around it that you can actually cook on and
Cool.
do your cooking stuff. But it also you can lift that up off of there, and it has a stainless steel cooking pan that you can put food in and you can drop it down into that
Wow.
spot and you can cook off of that wood fire if you wanted to.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to ask some questions from other people. We asked people on the Grove, or I asked people on the Grove Community Connection Facebook group if they had any questions for Miami Fireplace and Stoves. And so some people asked some questions. So Shannon asked this question. She asked, do you have any special pricing for low income, military, or the elderly who are on a fixed income?
We do for our veterans. I mean, without them, where would we be at?
Mm,
The freedom that they fought for and stuff. So I feel like we owe it back to them.
mm,
And so we do offer a 10% veterans discount. And so, but we try to meet, we try to help anybody out that we can,
mm,
but we try to meet people's budgets that they have. We have different things that we can do to help get them the heat that they need. Or there's been times that we go out and, I mean, we can't work for free
yeah,
as much as we
exactly.
would like to. um, that's one thing that I've always said is I wish we didn't have to work for money, because
Mm,
I was like, I want to help everybody.
mm.
I want to help everybody, and so, but we try to go out and help people meet them where they're at in
Mm,
their budget wise,
mm.
but we explain to them what all it entails, and so hopefully it builds some value there to see what all we have to do.
You were talking about tax credit from the efficiency of some of your stoves, where you can get up to, I think you were saying like $2,000, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yes.
So that can save people money that they might have not thought that they could save money, and so that's one way to lower costs overall in a year.
Yeah.
Um, and then I saw on your website if they sign up for, I think, your email list, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
you can get
Hmm.
$100 off. That's especially at the time of the recording of this video.
Yeah.
But there might be other things like that that people um, might not know about that they can get as well. Now, someone else had. Do you have any other thing to add to that question? Okay.
I don't think so.
All right. And so someone named James was asking, do you have payment plans?
Um, we don't have payment plans to us,
Okay.
but we do offer financing,
Oh, okay.
and it's a simple. It don't hurt your credit to check, but whenever we give an estimate out,
Mm.
we ask if they want to be able to maybe finance it.
Mm.
And if they do, then we send them the estimate, and there's a link attached to it that they can click on, and they put in how much they need, and then there's like 5 years, like 0% interest, same as cash.
Okay.
And there's different things that they can pick from to be able to make it fit their budget and be able to afford it if they need it, like right now.
Okay. All right. That's good to know.
Yeah.
All right. And then Rebecca had several questions, and so when I ask some, I want to ask her questions. She says this: We have an old school wood burning fireplace, no inserts. Is this something they service?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
We service. They make two different. When people call us, they're like, "We've got a fireplace."
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't know what they have. They just know it's a fireplace.
Mm-hmm.
But they have two different types of fireplaces, really. A masonry one,
Mm-hmm.
which is made out of the whole structure is made out of masonry, brick, stone, whatever kind of material. But it extends out through the roof, and they have those masonry, those clay tiles that I was talking about. That would be a real masonry fireplace. And then some people have what's called the factory built fireplace, which it's a metal box, kind of like you see right here, but this one burns gas.
Mm-hmm.
They have some that are kind of the metal box is put in there, and then they've got these panels that look like brick that slide back in there to keep the heat from transferring what's behind it.
Mm.
And those are called like a factory built fireplace where it's got metal, and then usually it's got metal. It can have rock on it like this, so it looks like it's masonry, but then it has metal pipe that's hooked to the top of it, and it's going out through the roof somewhere. Um, and it's not like a real brick chimney. It's what they call a chase. It's pretty much where your pipe and stuff can run through, but they make it look like a false chimney up there.
Mm.
So we service both of those, though. We service them, we sweep them, we inspect them, we tear them out sometimes.
Okay.
We install new in there. We put inserts in them if they can be utilized for an insert.
Yeah,
So,
she was asking, and I think you answered some of this already, but she was asking if so, like if you service it, then what are your recommendations for upkeep? Is it different if it gets minimal use? We are part-time residents.
yeah, so um, the way that it works is they say that um, if you have 3 fires a week,
Mm-hmm.
that you need to get your inspection done annually. But if you have 3 or less fires a week, that you can go biannually
Okay.
on that. So every other year. So if you don't use it very much, just kind of here and there, um, just pretty much for ambiance and kind of stuff, not to because if you're really heating with it, you're going to be using it a lot.
Yeah.
But if you're just kind of sitting down and having family time around a fire, um, but the main thing on the upkeep of your fireplace is um, you want your wood, to be seasoned.
Mm.
So that right there is a big game changer if you can have good seasoned wood, because it's going to burn cleaner. It's not going to leave creosote all in your chimney. Um, and then the next thing would be like a chimney cap, because some of the fireplaces, so we rebuild, they call them crowns.
Mm.
So on a masonry fireplace, it has pretty much like the roof of your fireplace. It's got concrete up there, and those crowns, over the years, it depends. Um, they get cracks in them,
Mm.
and they start cracking, and that starts leaking into your chimney.
Mm.
So we have a product that we can either put on, if the cracks aren't real bad, we can seal them up from the top with a certain product that has a 15-year warranty
Mm.
to keep those cracks from getting worse.
Mm.
Because what happens is water gets in those cracks,
Mm.
and then it freezes, and then it expands,
Oh
and
wow.
those cracks just keep getting worse and worse. And if that happens, then we have to jackhammer all that concrete off of the top of it,
Mm.
and we have special forms and stuff that we form up there, and have to pour another crown up there, concrete crown up there, and then put a new cap over the top of it so the water sheds away from the chimney and not run down the brick of the chimney.
Wow.
So there's
A
a
lot of considerations.
yes,
Uh,
yeah.
okay, and this is what she says as well here, or asks, what are the pros or cons of inserts versus no inserts and the different types of inserts?
Pros and cons of insert. I guess the pros and cons of a wood insert would be you can't really on a wood insert you can't you can open the you don't get that same um, open fireplace feel to it.
Mm.
Um, it's there's some people that want just an open wood burning fireplace,
Mm.
but an insert you put the logs in it and you shut a door. You can still see the fire in there,
Mm.
but it's not really the same concept as an open wood burning fireplace where you can roast marshmallows on it and all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
But the pellet insert would be um, the pro to that is, I mean, it's closing up that fireplace,
Mm.
and you're getting all that heat back into the room,
Mm.
and so it's really a lot more efficient in that area.
Okay. All right. Okay. It's okay. All right. So, okay. And then, what do you love the most about doing business in the Grand Lake region?
Um, the most that I love about it, I mean, who doesn't love the view of the lake?
Yeah.
You know, I mean the I go around the lake all the time,
Mm.
and just getting to see the different views and different. Um, I mean, I'm seeing a different sunset or a different sunrise or something from different perspectives, all around the lake and just the view and then I mean the people.
Yeah.
We always. It's funny because I come home from work or whatever, and I'm like, hey, I met the nicest people,
Mm.
and it's funny because I come home and I'm like, hey, and sometimes my family will stop me and be like, let me guess, you met the nicest people, and I'm like, yes. I'm like, man, they were so nice. Like it just, I've not ever met somebody that's not nice in Grove area, around the lake. They're just, I don't
There
know.
are a lot of nice people. I'm
Oh
very
yeah,
thankful for people in Grove. I can definitely testify of that after 8.5 years of being in Grove and interacting with people on a daily basis, living and working in Grove. So
yeah,
I can definitely say that.
yeah.
Um, okay, and then what is the most challenging about doing business in the Grand Lake region?
The most challenging, um, man, I'd almost say that it's whenever I first started doing this, I started everything on like paper,
Mm.
and I just did everything on paper, service calls, everything on paper, and people would call and say, "Hey, I'm in Grove." Well, I'm in Grove. The next people will call, "I'm in Grove," and the next people will call and say, "Hey, I'm in Grove."
Mm.
And so I'd schedule all three of those service calls, thinking, "Man, they're going to be like right there by each other." Well, one of them was on like South Grove, like they're all like 30 minutes away from each
Oh
other
wow.
because of the lake.
Mm.
You've got to go around places. They don't have a bridge to certain locations. And so the travel time, being able to get around the lake, it's fun because I'll be working on a house and I'm like, the next house that I need to go to on the map is right across the lake right here. And if I had a ferry or something, I can go right to it, but I have to go all the way around to get to it. So sometimes it's 30, 45 minutes to that house that I could see from that other house. And so I'm like, man, that's probably the most difficult thing, is just the traveling and getting around to that
Okay.
stuff.
Okay, and now Sadie asked this question. She said, I have two fireplaces I don't use, how do you close them up so they have no drafts and are safe?
The way that we close them up is um, if they want doors on them, you know, not every fireplace is made for doors to be on it.
Mm.
But if we could put doors on it, we put doors on it. And then at the top of your fireplace, you either have some sort of cap on the top, and they make caps that are called damper caps.
Mm.
And so what it does is it has a big stainless steel cable that we run down the fireplace, down
Mm.
the chimney, and we take the old cap off, put the new cap on, and whenever you pull that stainless cable down,
Mm.
you pull it down to tension and you lock it to. There's a little clamp on the side that you lock it into,
Mm.
and it pulls a big piece of the cap comes down on top of it, and it
Mm.
has a rubber seal around it that seals it, so no moisture, no air, or nothing like that is getting in and out through the chimney.
Okay. And I have just a few more questions. Oh yeah, this is what Ty asked. He asked, "What are the top three things you want the community to know about your business?"
To know about my business. About my business, I just want people to know that we're here, you know,
Mm.
to service them. Because I don't know how many times we've ran into people in the Grove area, and they are like, "Man, we didn't even know you were there. We just happened to ask somebody, and they didn't know you were here either, you know." And so they finally found us, and so I'm like, "Man, I feel like we're in Grove probably 3 to at least 4 days a week." Um, and so I feel like our presence is always there, you know, and like, how do these people know we're not there? But um, so, I mean, that's one of the main things is letting them know that we're there to help them with whatever needs they need, fireplace related or dryer vent cleanings or anything like that, you know. And um, and then the second thing would be probably, I just really want people to know that we're real people just like they are, you know. We just own a service business that helps take care of whatever need they have,
Mm.
you know, and um, that like I talked to you about the the reviews and stuff, you
Mm.
know, that whenever it comes to people leaving reviews and stuff, like we take pride in our service and our customer service and just, you know, I mean, people at the end of the day, all we have is people, you know,
Mm.
and I just feel like we're supposed to take care of people and we're supposed to treat people the way that we would want to be treated
Mm.
in our business and everything we do. And so I just want people to know that um, that we're here for them and be able to take care of their anything that they need from us.
You have a third one? Third thing that you would want the community to know?
The community to know. Um, Third one would be, man, those are some tough ones sometimes. Um, I would want them to know, I guess, about us is that um, man, I don't know. That's a,
It's okay. If it's the two that you said already are pretty big,
yeah,
so that's fine.
yeah,
That's
I
fine.
guess, yeah,
And so I think, man, I could keep on talking. I mean, it seems like you have like a wealth of information and knowledge that I'm just seeing. I mean, and we're just probably just scratching the surface. Oh, there's something I have to ask you about because I
yeah.
saw this today as I was touring. I mean, as you were showing me around the fire tables, they're the
Oh,
fire
yeah.
pits, and you said that can be custom and things like that. Can you explain what is that?
Yeah, so a fire table is it's a fire pit. We have them that run on propane, natural gas, or wood, and we even have some that are pellet. So we have them. We can custom build them to your size, to your need. We can put the rock and everything on them that however you want designed, or we can do it as simple as pick one out that you like that's already pre-done
Mm.
and bring it to you and hook it up to your gas or um, and set it for you and everything. But they're really nice. They're, you know, they're They're really well made. They have a long lifespan. And the problem with people get some from, I mean, people get them from Walmart or stuff like that, and it's hard if it's a gas. It's hard to find parts for them
Mm.
and stuff. And so we have parts if for whatever we sell, we service. And
Okay.
so that's really the main thing about them. But they're really nice because you can, in the spring and summer, at night, you just go out there with your family and
Yeah, that would be
just
fun.
relax and just hang out. And uh, they've got so many different designs that you can pick from. So they're pretty nice.
Okay. Well, I think some people are going to have to check that out. And now, if someone wanted to come to Miami Fireplace and stuff, or if they want to come here, can they just, you have a, sorry, if people want to find out more about you online, where do they go to find out about your business?
Um, the the fastest way is probably to go to like Google
Okay.
and just Google Miami Fireplace and Stoves.
Okay.
And I mean, we have a website. It's
Okay.
miamifireplaceandstoves.com.
Okay. And then you
Um,
have a Facebook page as well, is that
yes,
correct?
we have a Facebook page. It's Miami Fireplace and Stoves.
Okay, so I will have those details in the description of the video I
Yeah.
did. This is a sponsored interview, and and actually before you became one of my sponsors, I was like looking at your reviews and things like that, and other things, and I saw that you had really good Google reviews and ratings, and I've just really enjoyed the interview, and I know that there's going to be a lot of people that are glad to know of a resource like yourself, I mean your company, that they can rely on, and then I can confidently recommend. And so I'm thankful for that, and I want to thank you for your time and going very much in depth with us today.
Yeah.
Do you have any final things before we close as well?
One thing that I forgot about, there's so many things that, fireplace industry brings to the table.
Mm,
We actually, it goes along the line of people calling if we do chimney inspections and sweeps,
mm.
if we do dryer vent cleanings, we started getting calls. Do you guys do HVAC duct cleaning?
Okay.
Like cleaning all your duct work out of
Yeah.
your house, like in the floor or in the attic or whatever. And we were, no, we don't. Well, it comes back to 100 calls, and we're like, man, maybe we should, we're always trying to find what people are needing
Mm,
and trying to fulfill that need for them. And so we bought a whole duct cleaning system um, that it uses a big, huge vacuum, negative air pressure,
mm,
and we have big air hoses that we run into your ductwork, whether
mm,
it's in the floor or in the ceiling, and we blow all that stuff out of your ductwork, and that vacuum sucks it all into there. But that vacuum's all mounted outside in a trailer,
mm,
and so all the dirt and dust and whatever we find in there, hamster bones, that people, snake skins, it
mm,
all goes in that container in the trailer. So it's not going back in the air, in your house or
mm.
anything like that. So, and then all of your duct work, we run sanitizer through it and stuff. So it kills any kind of, it's antimicrobial
Mm.
stuff that we spray into and fog into your system. So it deodorizes it and cleans it. And
Wow.
so,
So I wouldn't have thought about fireplace and stove business doing ductwork,
yeah,
but
well, it's duct cleaning.
duct
So,
cleaning. Okay.
yeah, we do the duct cleaning, and it's recommended. We have a lot of people that do remodels,
Mm,
and it with remodels comes dust, sheetrock dust,
mm,
all this stuff, and we have people that call us after remodel because their central heat and air is sucking in all that dust, and it's going all into their floor vents or anything like that. And so we come in and um, vacuum all their duct work out and stuff and make it like as clean as it was the day they put it in. So it's really, they say you need to do it about every 3 to 5 years.
okay.
So it just depends on if you have a lot of pets in the house and a lot
Mm.
of dander and hair, and then um, uh, so yeah, about every 3 to 5 years uh, should be done.
And what is the number that they can that people can call you to reach you?
No,
I'm like your business.
yeah, our business number is it's 918-961-8764.
Okay, and I'll make sure I put that in the description of this video. And I want to thank you